Hey kids, welcome to the garage, and today it's time to talk about GHOSTWARE Arena of the Dead, developed by Dev Team and published by Fulcrum Publishing. That's actually a joke. It's a joke. It's hyper strange. Hyper strange published this one. It's a joke because in my last video I incorrectly said that Hyper Violent was published by Hyper Strange when it was really published by Fulcrum, and this time I said that this game was published by Fulcrum, but it's really published by Hyper Strange. So you know, I'm having a laugh at myself here, kids. I'm so sorry, guys. So the game that we're looking at today, GHOSTWARE Arena of the Dead, is simultaneously a love letter to / commentary on / meta criticism of the arena shooter genre of FPS games, modern shooter, multiplayer in general. It's just to try and sum up GHOSTWARE is a lot. It's a lot because there's kind of a lot going on here. And like walking in blind to this game, I was under the impression that I was going to be basically playing a single player campaign experience of an arena first-person shooter where you are playing as a character, and you are, in this game, you are playing as a character named Molly, and she awakens and finds herself in this weird cyberspace afterlife in which she is forced to run around and participate in a number of first-person shooter arena battles. Basically, you're taken through standard deathmatch, through King of the Hill, or as they call it in this game, dominate, and then also capture the flag. So when I walked in, I thought that basically what this game was going to be doing was going to be presenting you with you know, like you're just fighting bots, and it's simulating what an arena shooter would feel like if you were actually doing, you know, like a Quake Arena or Unreal Tournament back in the day. And it was just kind of a throwback vibe with a little bit of story in the background. Boy, oh boy, is this so much more than that. And to talk about it would be kind of a disservice because I want to get into the details of everything that's going on, but then that will spoil some of the interesting twists and plot devices that this game has under its belt. Like, GHOSTWARE is definitely a game that is playing its cards close to its chest. It's letting you know that there's more here going on than meets the eye, and every time you think that you've got a bit of a handle on exactly what it is that they're trying to do here, it pulls something else out, another trick, or maybe even the entire rug, and it introduces something that you were kind of only maybe barely contemplating about, but then also maybe like a tactic that you thought would be really... Man, I am very hype about this game. Like, I've got a few criticisms. I've got a few what I feel are justifiable criticisms, but I gotta say, like, it's been a hot second since a game like this, doing what it's doing, really dragged me in. For my money, if you want the blurb, if you want the Ruby Ranger advertisement blurb, GHOSTWARE is the retro shooter answer to Metal Gear Solid 2. And if you go and you play this game, and I really feel like you should, I think then you're going to understand this. This game has a definite sort of meta, fourth wall, tongue-in-cheek, but very serious sort of atmosphere to it, where everything is designed to be a wink and a nod and an elbow, but also dire at the same time. And that's a really difficult tightrope to walk, and I feel like GHOSTWARE thus far is doing a really good job at doing so. So as you jump into the game, the first thing that you're going to do is run through a quick tutorial for movement, shooting, and abilities. I really like the concept of abilities in this game. You have like one of two abilities that you can equip as you unlock them. The first one is kind of useless. It's called Blinding Sand. You basically throw sand in your opponent's eyes. They can't see for a second, and then they're immobilized, and it's, like, great. Like, it's a cool kind of a tactic. It freezes them up, opens them up for a few shots, but you gotta be, like, in melee range for it to hit right. I didn't really enjoy it as much. But the second ability that you unlock is basically you are crafting and dropping a first aid kit right in front of you. So if you're in the thick of it and you can't find any health packs around, craft your own health pack on the fly, drop it, and you get a good chunk of health back, and I really like that. There's a secondary ability that you get later on, which I want to save as a surprise. There's a lot of this game that I want to save as a surprise, so I'm not going to be talking too much in depth about the details of this game, or in fact showing too much footage from a certain portion of the game. I'll show a little bit of it here in the video, but I'm not going to talk about it too much, and I'm not going to necessarily discuss that, because a lot of this game hinges on the surprise of the twists and turns and revelations, and revelations is generous. There are not many revelations that take place in the early access content of GHOSTWARE so far. It is all obscured, it is all opaque, and it is, at this point in time, more about dragging you in and making you question what's going on and setting things up, and not really telling you too much, because I have a feeling we're going to get really deep into the woods here, kids. So as you go through these levels, right, so you have a hub, you have a main hub where you get to talk to the other combatants who are in this arena of the dead. You're basically a weird, like, I think I already said cyberspace afterlife, but you get to talk to the other combatants, converse with them, and then through the hub, you get to go through different arenas and then fight against them and then return to the hub. Now, the thing is like, you can't clear that arena unless you win the match. So you got to take first place in deathmatch, you got to take first place in dominate, you got to take first place in capture the flag. Once you return to the hub, you can then re-enter the arenas, but not in a combat sense, but as an exploratory sense, because each of these arenas, once you've won the match, you can go back in and then explore them to see what sort of secrets they have hidden in the digital ether. There are all, again, I'm trying not to spoil any of this, because I genuinely believe that this is one of those that you should pick up and play and try for yourself. Go secret hunting, find the things that you need, and experience this game the way it wants to be experienced, because there is a lot of fourth wall breaking. There is a lot of playing and toying with player expectations. I will say that you do have a navigation tool that allows you to log into whatever internet that this digital space is connected to, and you can find different, let's say, URL codes that allow you to access different aspects of that internet. That ties into the story, it ties into the world building. It's just, there's a lot going on, and experiencing this, like, I actually felt myself getting on the edge of my seat more and more, like with each tiny little revelation. And I haven't been this just weirdly thrown out of a game while being pulled into it. Again, not since Metal Gear Solid 2. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking games. What is it? Nier Automata? Is that... I never played it. I know that everybody loved that game, and it has like 4 endings. You have to beat it like 4 times in order to see like the actual real ending of the game. But like, when a game goes and breaks the fourth wall and gets super meta, it can be a very difficult line and a very difficult story to thread and weave together if you're not being very intentional and paying attention to how you do it. And right now, GHOSTWARE is doing it real well. Do you know, the problem that it could see in the future as it unloads more content is really being able to tie everything together and make it all work. It's like, games like these are about the journey, and sometimes the destination really falls flat. But man, what's happening with GHOSTWARE, I have so many questions. I have such a lack of understanding of what it's doing, but I'm so interested in it that I really hope that it doesn't, like, you know, end up pulling a Lost and having the destination end up just being really flat. But you know what? Even if it does, this already feels like a journey that's going to be well worth taking. Now, I will say that I did have a few criticisms about the game. Number one, I'm not sure how I feel about the combat in the game. It feels both too precise and imprecise at the same time. I had a lot more fun playing with the explosive weapons, like the bubble gun and the grenade launcher. The shotgun is effective and neat, but not too the shotgun feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel as hefty as I want it. Like, it's effective, it does the trick, and I enjoyed the shotgun, but it doesn't feel very hefty or meaty, or like it does what it really needs to. I felt that way with a lot of the weapons. Like, I had to be extra precise with the weapons, but the controls are a little floaty. The controls do not have the same sort of precision that the weapons are asking for. So I felt like I was wasting a lot of ammunition and not really hitting my targets as much as I wanted to, because I was struggling to find that match between my own precision, my own aiming, and the precision that the weapons themselves demanded in order to be effective, if that makes sense. In a lot of the fights that I found myself going through, particularly the ones where you are forcibly locked off from extra ammunition, I found myself basically relying on the pistol, the main pistol that you have in the game, which has infinite ammo, and that's fine, but it also is so precise, and like, if the weapons feel like you have to be exacerbatingly precise with them, and if you're not, then you're missing so many shots. But the problem with that also is that I really feel like there's not enough ammo present in the game to justify that sort of balance there. Like, I definitely feel like they need to up the ammo count if that's how they're going to be presenting. Like, you gotta spray and pray. Like, okay, you need a lot more ammo lying around for me to feel like any of this is working for me. Because it's kind of a very hard thing to be running around trying to blast at characters with the different weapons, like the ricochet machine gun, for example, or the submachine gun, or the concussion shotgun. You know, if there's very, very limited ammo for these things, then they need to be more effective, or they need to be more precise, or some kind of balance. Like, right now the combat just feels a little floaty, the weapons demand to be used really precisely, and there just kind of isn't enough ammo to justify that. I felt like I ended up falling back on my one weapon that just has infinite ammo way too much, and that is also kind of frustrating because that's the weakest weapon that you end up with, since it's the default one. And the air controls were a little also too imprecise for me. I had a big difficulty trying to land jumps when I was double jumping. There is a little bit of light platforming involved in the game. There are one or two moments where you're asked to have kind of, you know, be paying attention with your platforming, and it wasn't until I was running around and really paying attention that I noticed that your double jump doesn't carry you in the direction that's, like, say, if you're strafing and you go to double jump. If you go to double jump while strafing, the second jump will push you directly forward in whatever direction that you are looking, not the direction that you're moving. And that took quite a bit of getting used to, like trying to mount and scale or wall jump, and understanding that your second jump or your wall jump isn't going to follow your air control. It's going to follow you looking forward, if that makes sense. But there is, oh man, there is so much here that GHOSTWARE is doing that's really good, and is doing it in this, like, kind of, like, really creepy horror vibe. Like, it's not a fully horror game at all, but there are elements of creepypasta that kind of started to get under my skin, and I don't want to discuss any of that, because I want you kids, and I recommend this game, go get it, go play it, because I am already very invested. There's a twist about 2/3 of the way through that happens that just made me sit back and then sit forward again, because I was so invested in what was happening. And I think that it is well worth your time to get to that point and to hit the end of the early access content and ask yourself, what the fuck is happening here? If anything, like, again, I don't want to lambast the combat, because, like, it's doable. The combat is doable. It feels a little too floaty. It felt like I was constantly fighting to be precise, and it felt like all my weapons wanted me to be, or they demanded me to be more precise, and it was almost kind of a punishment if I wasn't precise enough, because then I would just run out of ammo and I would have to fall back on my default weapon, which is a shame. But I think, like, you know, this is, again, in early access at this point in time. There's tweaks to be made. And is the game currently playable at this point? Absolutely. It is still fun. It is still enjoyable. I just would love to see the combat tweaked a little tiny bit. That's really my biggest criticism. I can even deal with the air combat, but the control schemes as it stands would be fine if you were just like constantly surrounded by swarms of enemies in an arena, in a deathmatch arena. But if you're doing a one-on-one fight and it's asking you to be super precise, it's not quite there. But that's just me. That's my take. I really invite you kids to check this game out. I was very surprised by it. It turned out this is not anything like what I thought it was going to be. Like, throw your expectations aside. This game is not going to be what you think it is. And so far, I'm very excited by that. So, go check out GHOSTWARE. I really want to dive into this and talk about spoilery shit, but the garage is not the place for that, kids. The garage is a place for me to make sure that you know things are being worked on, and I'm going to tell you the status of what's under the hood. This is not the place for spoilers. But you know what is? The actual fucking game. So get out there, go pick up GHOSTWARE, published by Hyperstrange, developed by Dave Team. It's $15 at this point in time, probably going to hit a sale somewhere down the line. I would say it's well worth your money at this stage in the early access content with what's there. I put in about 3 hours, plus there's also an arcade mode so where you can set yourself up to just do some good old-fashioned deathmatch against bots and just, like, have a bunch of fun. That's all I've got for this episode, kids. I've got a lot of work I gotta do in the next month, so I'm gonna hit the ground running. Stay hydrated, stay safe out there. Thank you again for watching this video, and I will be seeing you real soon back here in the garage and otherwise. Take it easy, kids.